few weeks ago we heard an amazing introduction in one of our midweek services, and the preacher there spoke about love being, measuring ourselves in the mirror of love, and that was such a great thought, and that's actually the reason I have been talking about this thought that that Paul says, now abides faith, hope, love, and these three, and the greatest of these is love. And of course, the question, I think it's a reasonable thing to say, we ought to measure ourselves not by the ridiculous little tiny things of our life on earth, but through the great things, through the things that abide, through faith, through hope, through love. So the first one is when measuring ourselves by looking into the mirror of faith. How does that happen? Okay, how do you measure yourself in faith in a way? Well, actually, it's a good point to say great faith is not the faith that dares to say the biggest things, but great faith is the faith that is capable of saying the smallest things, maybe even the weakest things, maybe even to admit defeat. And while it's saying those small things, weak things, while it's admitting defeat, it is able to trust God. Okay, this is very different from what looks like great faith, but it is in fact great faith. 2 Samuel 3:39, David actually says, maybe I should just read it. This is an amazing comment on this, I think. So 2 Samuel 3:39, he reads, one moment, I'll find it. So David is in a situation where he is the king, but he is not, he doesn't have as much power as he ought to, as he should. He says, I am this day weak, though anointed king, and these men, the sons of Zeruiah, be too hard for me. But the Lord shall reward the doer of evil according to his wickedness. So the point is that he cannot deal with these people, even though he is king. He doesn't have the ability. He doesn't have the power to do it. So in a way, you could say he is actually admitting defeat, and yet he is trusting God while he is admitting that defeat. And what an amazing thought. You usually wouldn't think of that as great faith, would you? I wouldn't, by just looking at it. I would see someone who says the boldest thing in the name of the Lord, and then there's someone else like David, and he says, I don't have the strength to deal with this, but I trust God in it. Which one is greater? Well, the bold thing can be great faith too, if it's about trusting in God. But we have seen many times people saying big things and saying that's faith, and believing that just because they dare to say big things, that's faith. But that's not faith. That's not what faith is. Faith is trusting the Lord. It's not about some foolish courage where you are able to, where you're willing to say the darndest things just because, I have faith. No, that's not faith. Faith is trusting God, and even when there is weakness, when there is defeat, even when there is something terrible happening, it's like the book of Lamentations. Jeremiah writes about, Jeremiah writes that in a defeated state, and his country is destroyed, is about to be completely destroyed, and he knows that he knows that God's chastisement is on them, and it's going to go bad for him, for everyone, and yet he trusts God. And that's, I believe, awesome faith. That's actually awesome faith. Do I dare to say the small things, maybe the weak things, maybe even admit defeat, but I say, yet I trust you, Lord. God bless your meditation with that thought.